There we go. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the ULA Liberty channel, to our live stream regularly on Thursday evening at 7:30. And this evening, we have the pleasure and the privilege of chatting to two of the youngsters that are becoming actively involved in our secession process in the United Liberty Alliance. And so, good evening to Stephen and Jamie. How are you?
Good evening, Brett. I'm good, thanks, and you, man?
Hi, Brett. Good
Very well.
evening.
Hello, Jamie. Lovely to have you guys on here this evening. And I just want to say to everybody else, there's so much to talk about. I mean, this is a massive topic. The youth of our country, the youth of the country, our new country, the United Cape States. It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be very interesting this evening to hear it from a youthful perspective. I think we get to a point, the people that actually are the exco or running and driving the the ULA, the United Liberty Alliance, and people like myself and Peter and all the other admins that I know are currently on here and listening. Um, we understand more or less what it's like to have freedom. We've never really been free, but we've got an idea of what it would be like to go back to the days when you could, walk in the streets at late at night, kids playing on their bikes till it got too dark to see, wandering around in the veld, at any time. Just, my dad always says, as long as you're home by dark, otherwise you get a hiding, and sometimes I did. So, that was the amazing thing about growing up where you didn't have crime, and people were that were in effectively in control or in management of the towns and so on were competent enough to make sure that things worked. So,
Yeah.
from a youth perspective, most of our youth, and including our two youngsters that we're talking to this evening, haven't really had that experience. They've always grown up in an environment where you don't want to drive around too much alone at night, and you don't want to go into certain areas and that type of
Yeah.
thing. Let me ask you, Stephen, Jamie, when you first got to know about the ULA, what attracted you? What made you say, this is something that I think I should become involved in?
Well, I think I can answer that first. I've had the opportunity to visit family overseas, and we tried to immigrate there. And so we sort of kind of like felt out what the country was like for a little bit. And I had the opportunity to go to school there. So I fortunately, of the youth, I've been able to taste a little bit of what freedom feels like. And I was able to, like you say, when you were younger, I was able to ride my bike, past dark. I had friends in the neighborhood. It was really, it was such a freeing experience. And so knowing how incredible that is, and thinking about the opportunity to possibly experience that home here, I think that would just be wonderful because we also have such a beautiful country. And there's so much more to do here than I think, we've got such a unique freedom, I think, that we can experience. So that's definitely something that drew me um, to the ULA and to jumping in and getting all excited about it.
Yeah, like
Okay. Yes, Stephen.
to sort of cotton on to what Jamie said. What initially attracted me to the ULA was I've I've always there's so many values and things I really appreciate about various ideologies and sort of morals that other countries around the world have, and the ULA, they encompassed so many of them and have so many of them built straight into the very foundation, the very heart of the country, and the very heart of the idea
Yeah.
that it's all these things that I've always wanted sort of, be a part of in a country sort of situation and experience for myself, knowing, as you said, like, being able to just go somewhere and not worrying about, oh my gosh, am I safe here?
Yeah.
Or especially when you go somewhere new, like recently I went to Bloemfontein, and I think I'd been there once, but when I was very young, and so going there for the first time, you don't know, like, where's a safe area, where's not a safe area. You end up driving through these places that are like, oh my soul, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And so having to grow up with that and that kind of fear, and also seeing what else is out there. Not that I've experienced a lot of it personally, but knowing what other countries live with, and knowing that this was an opportunity to potentially get that for myself and for future generations and the children that are growing up now, hopefully getting them to that point where they can experience that. That's what really, really drew me in.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And you understood, I think, at some point that what the ULA is all about is not trying to change what we're doing right now. Yeah? Not trying to change the dispensation through whatever means, which is one of the options we do talk about. So what is your understanding then about secession? Because when you truly get the idea of secession into your DNA, into your bloodstream, I think very few people actually do understand that, what secession really means. What is the true essence of secession? So just before I ask you to give me your impressions there, I just want to invite everybody that this is an open forum. If you would like to participate in the discussion, if you want to ask Stephen or Jamie a question, if you want to make a comment, if you want to remember something from your youth or think about something that you're really going to enjoy once you've succeeded, then please just raise your hand. We'll add you to the stream and then you can chat with us. All right. So guys, what is your understanding about what secession really is?
Well, that's one of my favorite parts of the whole idea of secession, and is the fact, or one of my favorite parts of it is the understanding that it's a complete, not even just restructure, it's a complete blank slate of this is a group of people that all have the exact same set of values and the exact same vision. And that those core values and the core vision that we've created, it hasn't been watered down or been changed or constantly, because that's one of the problems that America's facing right now.
Or like compromised.
Exactly. Compromised. That's a perfect word. That's one of the big issues America's facing, is they've had so many laws that have been bent slightly and changed slightly and manipulated slightly. They've started to deviate from where they initially started. And the same things happened here. And everyone's experienced that, where there were a lot of specifically constitutional rights, not even talking about like smaller laws and things that have been exploited there, but basic constitutional rights that have been completely overlooked and just not enforced and not what's the right word, almost valued and been like, no, we can't do this because of that. So the beauty of breaking away completely and starting afresh is the fact that you can reinstate all these core values and say, you know what, this is what we believe, this is what we think, and it hasn't been changed or manipulated or formed into something that it wasn't originally what the people who first made it in visualized. It's a reset, which is so beautiful.
I think sorry, go back.
Go ahead. No, please, Jamie.
Oh, okay, no problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my idea of, or something that I think of the way when I think of secession, is it's, hey youth, or hey everyone, there's so many people who have incredible opportunities and they're getting ahead in life, and they've got everything that's kind of, speaking about the country, that kind of works in their favor. What we want to do is we want to create a safe space for the minority, for you guys, to have those same opportunities. And I think that's something that's pretty cool. In my head, that's what Secession is about. It's creating a safe space for the minorities so that we can, have our space to do what we also want to contribute to the country and, do our best and achieve things, and not being held back, but having a space, that the ULA has created, or the Cape is, made for the rest of us. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it.
No, that's 100%, Jamie. There's, there are many different ways of putting it, of putting secession.
Yeah.
But essentially, the reason I say I think a lot of people, even even people who claim they do, don't understand what secession really is, because it does mean, exactly as you're saying, a complete fresh start.
Yeah.
Under a completely different set of
Yeah.
rules, with that have been designed to be free, to make us free. And they with this, what is the word? There's the safety, and there's a word that's eluding me now, but principles that have been built into the Bill of Rights and will be built into the Constitution, that safeguard the freedoms of all the citizens, that cannot be overruled. So that does give us absolute freedom, and I think people don't often realize that, and that's why I'm glad we're talking to you guys this evening, because I'm afraid that on the youngsters, and there's so many, and we're doing this actually. I mean, most of the people on this call this evening, we're going to be living in this new country, for 1 or 2 decades, and then going on to greener pastures, or maybe 3 or 4. But it's really, what we're doing is we're building it for the future. We're building it for our descendants, for the people that come after us, our grandchildren and their children. And the concern amongst us sometimes is that the youth don't really understand secession because of the reasons that we've spoken about. They haven't really. Yes, Jamie, you've been overseas and you know what I'm talking about with those freedoms and so on. But they've always lived under this, almost like that the frog in the boiling water. That analogy of, you put a frog in the water, slowly start cooking it, and eventually it'll just boil to death because it doesn't know the difference. And so we worry that is where the youth is, kind of being stuck. Is that it's so encouraging talking to you guys that have seen what's happening and that are willing to get up and actually do something about it, rather than just see what happens and think that it's going to turn out for the best. And these guys can't really be. They can't be that bad. I mean, really, they can't take away. Okay, so we'll give them our guns, no problem. But they're not really going to take away our property. I know that. And by the way, by property, we don't just mean land, okay? We mean all property, including intellectual property rights. So because that's just a little by the by. So now we've spoken a little bit in the past, and you've had a couple of meetings with some other youngsters, and with Hein and Sean and Peter and myself. What do you see happening in the near to middle to eventual secession that we're going to have in your circle of youth? What are the plans there to get things going, get the word out there, and get the mandate so that we can do this?
Well, we've discussed a couple of plans, because we haven't had that much time. We've only been working on it for a couple of months. We're still sort of in the foundational stages of laying plans down and coming up with ideas. But some of the things that we've thought of are things like public forums, similar to what the one guy in America does. His name's Ben Shapiro. Similar to those kinds of things where
I know that, yes.
you go into like a university, and then it's an open floor, and they can come and ask you questions, kind of thing, and then you answer their questions.
Okay.
That's one of the ways we thought of, because there's nothing better than for people to learn about something than going and actually asking what they're thinking about, kind of thing. Like if because I know that's what makes us so beautiful as people, and that's something that's been so badly crushed in our country, is everyone's an individual, so everyone has a different question, kind of thing. And if your questions never get answered, you never understand truly what exactly is happening, kind of thing. So one of our main goals as the youth is to, as you say, reach out to the people and make sure that they understand that there is something different, kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's another way.
Yeah.
So public forums, those kinds of things, that's one of the avenues that we've started exploring. Another one that we're also going to focus on very heavily is social media, our social media presence, and building multiple channels of and various faces to the youth that everyone can relate to and be like, oh man, that person's the same age as me, or roughly the same age, and they also know about that joke, and they also know about this, and this is totally, this is a new concept, kind of thing. And even going to the financial side of things, thinking about how the currency that you guys have started working on, and how you've made it asset backed, and all those sorts of beautiful things. Explaining those things in a generation of people who don't always fully understand it. Like, people don't understand the fact that your money doesn't mean anything, kind of thing. The money in your bank account, if you go to the bank and say, I want it, they'll just give you a pile of paper, which it could be worthless tomorrow, kind of thing. They don't understand these kinds of fundamentals. And so making social media content, and as I said, there's public forums and stuff, and having talks and things like that at schools and universities. Those are some of the avenues we've sort of exploring, and definitely using to further the understanding and further the sort of the grounding to the youth, to be like, hey, there is another way. And that's actually another thing that was one of my favorite things about the ULA when I discovered it, is I was like, oh my word, there's actually a way out. There's actually a way to make progress. Because there are only two ways. You either live with it and be like, oh, as you say, I hope it gets better, or you leave, which is what the majority of South Africans are doing anyway. I mean, I remember reading a report a while ago. The one guy ran sort of a computer, what's it called? A computer algorithm on the white populace, particularly thinking about the minorities, the white populace in South Africa, and they estimate the white populace of South Africa will be extinct by the year 2050. So these are kinds of problems that people are like, I don't want to live here anymore, so they just leave. So, but now the incredible thing is, if we can show people that they, especially the youth, as you say, the people who are up and coming right now, who are busy studying or about to get out of school, those people who are about to hit the working class, if we can show them, hey, we can work on this together, and we can get to a place where you can go out there and get a job. Like, you don't have to be like, wow, I have a degree or a PhD. I know the one guy, he got a master's degree and he cannot get a job. And so reaching out to those people and saying, hey guys, there's another way. We can make this work together. You don't have to immigrate. You don't have to leave the country you love behind. You can still be here. So that's one of our main missions, as you say, with reaching out to the youth, is showing them what is truly possible. Because our perception of what is possible, our standard has dropped so severely over the last however many years, compared to all the standards around the world. Like, I remember, this was probably about 12 years ago. I remember reading about the internet worldwide, and the internet speeds different countries had and stuff like that. And the average internet speed in most of the first world countries was well over 100 megabits per second, which in South Africa at that time, I think the average internet speed was 3. So those kinds of things, being like, oh,
in some places it still is.
True.
No, exactly. It's true. Some places it still is, and that's if you have internet at all, kind of thing. Some of those places, as you said, they have no connectivity, none of this ability and whatever. And we have this sort of global front that we're like, oh yes, we're reformed now. We've moved out of apartheid. We've moved through all these things. But what people don't realize is the economy and the economic status of most people has declined severely. I remember reading a census that was taken, when was it? It was just before the first lockdown, so it was probably late 2019. And they spoke about the average wealth of a South African citizen and the average net worth. And the average net worth of a South African citizen at that point was negative 16,000 Rand, the average overall. And when you compare that to America, the average net worth of an individual there is just over 140,000 Rand. So getting people to understand the difference between, hey, this is what's possible and this is where you've been stuck in.
Yeah, it's not okay where we're stuck. That's also a very big thing in our social media. It's like, this is where we can go, and it's actually not okay where you are now. Like, it's not normal that you can't walk out on the street. It's not normal that you can't get a job. It's not something that you have to just keep living with. There is so much more. So kind of helping open their eyes, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, before we move on, just to once again invite everybody on the channel right now on the live stream that if you'd like to have a chat with Jaime or with Stephen, just raise your hand. We'll add you to the live stream, and you can chat with them quite comfortably. This is one of the best parts of what we're doing right now. Okay, cool. Terence, good evening. I'm just adding you to the channel. How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Brett. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
That is very good. Please speak to you again.
Yeah, likewise, man. Stephen and Jaime are listening.
Yes.
100%. Oh, that's good. Pleased to meet you, Stephen, and what is her name?
Jaime. Pleasure to
Jaime.
meet you, Terence.
Okay, 100%. Pleased to meet you as well. Scottish boer from South Africa.
Oh, awesome.
Lovely.
Okay, guys. The way I see this country is that the only country which will be possible to have a good living in the future will be South Africa. I stand together with you guys with this absolute great performance of yours and what I heard now. I can tell you now, I'm sure I'm a bit older than you, but South Africa will be the country of the milk and honey in the future. If you listen
United States, not South Africa.
Aye?
You mean the United Cape States, the new country, not South Africa.
I'm so sorry, Brett. Correcting. Thank you so much. Yeah. Brett can take me out every time. Yes, like it. He's on my back. But okay, Brett is a good friend of mine. And thanks to you guys. I like to hear when young people or younger people is coming onto this and into this to work together. It's so beautiful and so nice to hear. Thank you, guys. That's all from my side.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Terence. That's wonderful to hear. That's very encouraging. Thank you so much.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
You, Terence. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. Okay, so Stephen, just moving on then. Sorry, Terence, I'm just going to mute you because otherwise we get some feedback there. There we go. How do you guys feel about the financial future? South Africa is in quite a bit of debt at the moment. There's billions of rands flowing in from all kinds of loans. Do you know why people are so happy to lend South Africa money? And because when we move into our new country, we're not sure whether that's going to happen. We're pretty sure that in a very short space of time, the money will be flowing in. And initially, obviously, we do have investments. But how do you feel about the financial situation for youngsters with their whole lives ahead of them, being born into the current situation in South Africa, as opposed to seceding into a new country.
Yeah, well, as it looks currently, the financial situation in South Africa is pretty dire, and
dismal. Yeah.
I don't think that's another thing that we're definitely going to work on, educating the youth about is, guys, this is not where it should be, kind of thing. This is not going to a good place, because if you start really looking at the sort of the financials of the country, it starts to get pretty scary. Last I looked, this was a while ago. It's probably worse by now, but South Africa was in a deficit of about 4.5 billion rand a month, which is totally unsustainable. I mean, you're looking at this compounded over however many years, and the financial future of any person under the age of, say, 20, 28, 29, when they haven't really got their lives established and whatever, is very uncertain, because they can't go anywhere because they don't have enough money. They don't have enough experience to get a job overseas, really. If they were fortunate enough to get a university degree, that still doesn't guarantee them anything.
Yeah.
And there's so many people exiting the country. You have this, like, there's a weird skill gap that's developing right now, where you have people who you have a lot of people in very young positions, so very junior positions, and all the senior to mid-level positions are all opening up. But the problem is all the people in the junior positions aren't qualified for those senior positions. So you're having companies where there's a lot of jobs available, but nobody's qualified to do them.
Yeah. Or you'll have somebody who studies one career and then they just get any job that they possibly can. So they'll, I know a speech therapist who's studied, who now she just works as an admin lady, and she's put all of her time and effort into studying what she's passionate about, but she's just gotten the job that she can get her hands on. That's something that the youth faces a lot as well, I think.
Yeah, and going along with that, say you're fortunate enough to get a decent job, then you have the problem of, well, okay, chances are you're probably going to be in the 10 or so percent that pays the majority of our country's tax.
Yeah.
And what I think a lot of people don't realize is, okay, well, we've taken out however many billions of rands, 300 billion rand, 700 billion rand here, for various loans from the World Bank and all sorts of different countries, including China and places like that. We've taken out all these loans, and who's going to pay them back? It's going to be us, kind of thing. Over the next 40, 50, 60 years, we're going to be paying this back in tax. And the problem is, because only 10% of the people are paying that tax back, you have this incredible burden on your shoulders that you don't even know about. Especially when you compare yourself to other countries like Norway, for example. Norway has the most savings of any country on the planet, because of how they managed their oil resources. They were incredibly clever. When they got oil, they discovered it and they sold it overseas, and they didn't use any of the money to say, oh, okay, let's make Norway flashy, let's do this. All they did was they saved all of it. They put it all in asset backings and various stocks and stuff like that in different companies. And so now each person in Norway has over 130,000 euros, if I remember correctly, to their name in the government, kind of thing.
Wow.
So it's not even at the point where, oh, each person, if you were to divide however many billion worth of debt we have, each person has 70, 80 million rand worth of debt. It's not even like that. They have positive numbers on all of them. So, and that kind of thing, that sets your future financially, in terms of, then you don't have to tax the people who are paying tax to death, because that's the other thing I think a lot of people don't realize. We have some of the highest taxes in the world, and that's not a good place to be, in terms of, especially when you're living with and that's the other thing, again, going with the thing of, people are way too comfortable with, oh yeah, well, the government steals, but who cares, kind of thing. They don't realize that, hey, the fact that they're stealing as much as they steal and laundering the money and making it disappear means you have to work that much harder, because now all that money that's disappeared, somebody still wants that money back. And I think the situation for the youth gets worse and worse, especially when you look at things like what happened in, if I'm under correction, I think it was Malawi, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was Malawi. Anyway, but it was one of the African countries that has a coastline on the one side, and their main port. China came to them and said, "Hey, we see your main port is not looking that great. We can give you a loan to rebuild it." And so Malawi's like, or whichever country it was like, "Yeah, sure, let's take it," kind of thing. That sounds great. So China gave them this loan knowing that they wouldn't be able to pay it back. Because you look at their GDP, you look at how much the average earnings are, you look at how much tax the company or the country has, and it's not enough. They can't pay it back. So what happened? They defaulted on the loan. And then China said, well, okay, well, we own this port, so we're taking it back. So now what's happened is their main port in and out of the country is not owned by them anymore, which is disastrous because now any import-exports now get taxed and get charged XYZ amount of money by a country that isn't even remotely close to you, and it shouldn't have anything to do with you at all. And so knowing that we have similar kinds of loans with China and knowing that we have similar kinds of things, the whole idea of the secession and breaking away from all that debt, breaking away from all those mistakes and all the money that was stolen is incredibly encouraging because there is no financial future really. Because what's going to happen eventually? The country's going to go bankrupt. We're going to become another Zimbabwe, which is terrible because then they don't even use their own currency anymore. They run off the American dollar. So now they're subject to whatever the heck America's doing. So if America becomes worthless, now they're worthless inherently as well because they don't have money. And this is forgetting anything like they only have power 3 days a week sometimes. And you can't go certain places and all sorts of stuff. And so South Africa's going in the same direction. There's no two ways about
Absolutely,
it. Like
yeah.
if you really look at it carefully and you look at other countries that have followed a similar path, we know where we're going. And making sure that the youth knows that, hey, there isn't actually a future here and you don't have to leave.
Yeah.
Because that is the future. If nothing happens,
changes, yeah.
that's the future. You either leave or it turns into a situation where you can't get out at all. And that's where places like Russia and Germany and all those sorts of places after the Second World War and after the fall of the Soviet Union and those kinds of places, they all suffered with that, and they still suffer with it to this day. And there's no reason why we would be any different. Because we certainly don't have the resources that they have, and we don't have the means that they had at that given time, and they lost everything still. So the financial future for South Africa is pretty dire. So it's either you leave or we make another plan. We make sure people know. We make sure the youth know, the people who are gonna bear this burden of all this debt and all this incredible mismanagement and deterioration. We have to make sure that they fully understand. If you don't get behind a movement like this or something that's going to set your future up, this is where you're going, guys.
And you're going to have to pay for all the mistakes that have been made.
Yeah, and you didn't make those mistakes. You're going to pay for mistakes that you had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I must tell you guys, it is just speaking for myself, and I'd like other people to put up their hands and tell me what they think. But it is exceedingly encouraging and motivating to listen to your insight and understanding. And certainly nobody's pulling wool over your eyes. Your head is not in the sand. And yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a lot more than I can say for so many other people, unfortunately. But let me ask you this, and we're going to start, going towards the end now. We try not to keep it more than 40 minutes, just for the size of the file at the end. Right now, we are all involved very much with the ULA because without the secession, without that official, this is now our new country, following the process, and I mean, there are 2 or 3 different paths there, but we've got to get to that point. And so we're really grateful for your guys for your input and your encouragement of others to stand behind getting that process complete, because that's what we have to do right now. But having said all that, what do you see? And I mean, you don't have to answer this directly if you haven't really thought about it, but there are so many opportunities and openings, avenues, channels in this new country that we're going to have, which is for the minority people, for the people who are qualified and competent to do what they are asked to do. Okay, even run a power utility, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, or a radio station. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's not go down there. Where do you see yourselves fitting in ideally? I mean, there's so many different avenues. Have you thought much about it? Because that's really where it's at for the youngsters, is where are you going to fit in the new country, in the United Cape States?
Well,
Have you
Wow,
thought
good
about it?
question.
not that much, but
Okay.
that's kind of the beauty of it is right now your opportunities are very limited. Like getting a job is either get the job because of the color of your skin or because of who you know, kind of thing. And so if you don't know someone, it's kind of like, well, okay, you take what you can get, as Jamie said. Like you'll have these incredibly qualified people working in really underskilled, or not underskilled, but they're completely overskilled for what they're doing, kind of thing, because it's all they can get. So that's one of the beauties of it, is the world is your oyster then, because you can be like, wow, I have the opportunity to for example, something I started a couple of years ago, and the timing was unfortunate because it was right before lockdown, but I started a wedding photography studio, and knowing, working through all the different struggles and all the different red tape and all the different sort of breaking into a market that is so limited and doesn't really want you to succeed. The whole system's kind of rigged against you.
Yeah.
Trying to break into that is so disheartening, because no matter what you do, it's kind of like, well, I have this incredible dream now, and I have this vision of what I want to do, but I can't do it. So it's an incredible idea to think like, because also like the fact that I chose that, it's because I know, oh well, I probably won't be able to do this, or I won't be able to do that, or getting into the financial sector is going to be too hard, or kind of thing. It was almost not necessarily your first choice, but it was sort of a choice that was made because you were like, well, this might have the best chance of working. So one of my, as I said, that's one of the best parts about the Cape States, is if you can do it and you're skilled in it, you'll get a job, kind of thing. Like you can go out and do that. You can be like, well, I want to start a manufacturing plant, and you can do it. It's not like, oh well, now you're playing in this game where all the really big guys have the system rigged in their favor, kind of thing. It's a level playing field. So
Fantastic.
any specifics that I've thought of? Not really, but I can
All
say
right.
it's
Okay.
super, super, super exciting.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think sorry, Jamie. Do you want to add something?
You know what I think? Well, sorry. Being able to be a part of any educational front, I think equipping the new youth, the very little generation, the guys below us, being able to be a part of that and teaching them how to, hey guys, we can think. We were actually just speaking about this on our previous meeting. Thinking out of the box for us at the moment is thinking safety, thinking about, oh, I can earn this, I can actually be financially stable, but unlocking it even further and going, hey, you have something super individual that you can offer to the country. Let's see if we can help draw that out of you. How are we able to maximize your potential so that we don't just create a big, great country, but that every individual in the country is great as well, so that the country's saturated with these incredible, innovative, individualist, powerful individuals. If you get a worker from South Africa who goes overseas, you know that their work is going to be excellent. You know that our country produces a people of excellence. So being able to be a part of something like that, inspiring and encouraging the youth or whoever to be greater than just, oh, we can afford this, we can afford our house, we can be safe. That's, I think, something that I'd love to be a part of in the new country.
Perfect. Oh, that's so cool. It actually leads perfectly into the one very last quick question that I want to ask.
No problem.
How do you feel about the fact that the proposed policies for education is going to be that from a very early age, you're not going to be, have route learning shoved down your throat that you've got to regurgitate, at the end of a certain period to show how clever you are, which is not really the case. But kids are going to be, I mean, they're certainly taught life skills, all the life skills that we need, business and that type of thing. But also looking at, what is that where you find out exactly what somebody is good at, what they're passionate about, what they'd really like to do. Because as you said earlier, Stephen, so many people, and I know somebody that's on this call right now that speaks to them every day, hundreds of them that go through university, have this massive debt hanging over their heads, and come home with, party with a degree, and then sit at home for the next 5-10 years or more with absolutely, no way of finding a job. So this is going to turn that whole thing on its head. Where from young school age, kids are led down the path that they want to be, as you say, Jamie, be productive in, and even if it means not going to university, that's fine. I mean, so how many people come straight out of school or don't even finish school, start jobs and become stinking rich? If you can use that phrase.
It's so true.
Do you think that's a good approach?
I think what's incredible about that is, I remember speaking to one of I think you organized him on the call for us, either you or Peter organized him to speak with us on one of our calls. And one of the university lecturers at the Cape University, Stellenbosch. And I love the whole holistic approach because I think, creating individuals who have skills and have something to offer. There are so many jobs that you walk out of school and they ask you immediately, how much experience do you have? And if no one's got any skill set or any experience in anything, then it doesn't help. So it's wonderful that is definitely something that's being addressed in the school system, because it's something that we are so lacking. It's like you say, everybody's just copy, paste. Everyone's cookie cutters of each other. Everyone's got the exact same skills, and none of them are any that we can actually use once we leave school. And one of my favorite examples of this is, I know a guy in Amsterdam, and they do 13 years of school, and in the last 3 years you job shadow, but you're able to earn an income. So they immediately feed you into a company that you can start working for. And like you say, once you leave school, become stinking rich because you've got 3 years of experience in your back pocket because your school enabled you to do that. So I think that's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I'm so grateful to hear that that's something that's been addressed. Because creating individuals who are able to do things and have the skill set to, go out and actually work and do something, like you said, that that they're meant to do. Oh, it's just wonderful. And it's going to be incredible because it creates such a great idea of, an interesting sort of camaraderie of competition, but like healthy competition. Everybody has all these skill sets. Everybody, I think it's just going to be wonderful to see with the competition and the healthy competition that's going to come out, what kids are going to push themselves to do and what great things are going to come from the opportunity that the ULA is giving the youth.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So great to hear your enthusiasm, Jamie. It really is. Stephen, do you have something lastly that you'd like to add before we close off?
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd like to add is something thinking about again the education and what you mentioned with the individual idea is something Bertie spoke about. Is he said that and I know this from my own research as well, but the Finnish school system is brilliant in that respect, because from a very young age, but I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's about grade 6, grade 7, the teachers the teachers know the children super well, because they only have 2 teachers in Finland. They have one teacher for grade 1 to 7, and then one teacher for grade 8 to 12. That's all they have. So the teacher, by the time the child hits grade 7, the teacher knows the child incredibly well. And what they start doing at about grade 7 is they say, okay, well, we see you're good at this, this, and this. So say, for instance, the child's good at drawing and they like engineering as well. So then they'll put them into a technical drawing course and an engineering course. So they only have to do the fundamentals that they need. So they do their maths, their language, and some science and human studies, that sort of thing. But it's basic stuff. It's stuff that they have to survive. And then from there, they supplement that in the curriculum specifically for that child. They'll say, okay, we'll add engineering especially for you. So they'll have, say, 3 children that are doing engineering. They get an engineering person in, and he comes in, and a lecturer, and he starts teaching them engineering. So by the time they leave school, most of these children are equipped with a first, even sometimes second year university level of understanding. So you're not even dealing with someone who doesn't have a degree, who's not skilled. They don't have a degree, but they're super skilled already from the get-go. And hearing Basti talk about those kinds of principles and whatever, it's so encouraging to see where it's going to go. And I'm excited to keep going and keep pursuing this dream and this vision with all the incredible people like yourself that I've met. And just, it's what an incredible journey it's going to be.
I agree, and it's a team effort, Stephen, Jamie. Thank you so much. It's it's not just going to be a handful of people. It's going to be a whole team that pushes this secession to its desirable ultimate ending. And the sooner the better. We are just a couple of 100,000 away, and 1.1 million, 1.2 million away from 1.5. Sorry, 1.5 million away from making that dream a reality. So, by the way, I just wanted to say to everybody on this call and everybody listening to the recording, if those voices, Stephen and Jamie, sound familiar, something in the back of your head is saying, where have I heard? They are the they are the voiceovers on our Did You Know series about the ULA, going through to all the various topics around the ULA, of which we are going to make more. Guys, I have no doubt that we are going to have you back on this call again. I hope you will agree to that on future sessions. It's been brilliant, very encouraging, and I think there's still a lot more we can talk about.
Yeah,
so thank you so much.
Thank you too, Brett. This has been wonderful.
It absolutely has, and thank you so much. I think we're going to get a lot of feedback from the recordings as well. I just want to say thank you also to everybody else that's on the call this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Please share the word around. We're going to make the recording available, send it out. This is such a refreshing angle on what we are trying to achieve day by day. So let's do this. And remember, the ULA cannot succeed for you without you. We need everybody's mandate. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Stephen and Jamie. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.
Bye, Peter.
Bye.